back to my channel. So today we have part 2 of our London areas video. Stephen and I are going through the areas of London and giving you like 3 words that we think summarise them. Neither of us are from London, so it's kind of like our impression, I guess, as an kind of outsider and how we sort of think of it now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we're not Londoners by any stretch. You're a Northerner and I'm a Midland. I'm a Southerner technically.
I think you're a Midlander.
No, I was from Sicily, that's south.
Well, yeah, you were born in Sicily, so yeah. So we finished it, the last one on it, the letter L. So we're moving on to M now.
M.
So the first one is Mayfair.
Oh, right, okay.
So Mayfair is the most expensive piece on the Monopoly board, right?
Yeah, famous for that, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's definitely a super nice area. It's quite a small area. And it basically is like, the streets are usually pretty empty. You have a lot of really nice high-end shops there, high-end restaurants.
Yeah.
You also have like some offices, I think of like private equity or venture capital, is that right?
That's what I was going to say. One word I've used straight away, Mayfair, is money.
Yeah.
There's a lot of family offices there, there's a lot of VC, private equity offices there. I've had the pleasure or displeasure of being to a couple of meetings from companies there. Yeah, very luxurious. You can sort of see the money dripping off the walls, you know, it's that kind of vibe.
I think luxurious would be a good word.
Luxurious, yeah.
I'd say like small, because it is quite small. And personally, I'd say empty. Because it's just, there's never many people there. It's Zone 1, central London.
I disagree with empty a little bit. Because, well, whenever I've been through there, it's usually been in work hours.
Right.
And so if you're there morning, lunchtime, or just before like home time, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's people getting home and you see people coming in and out of the offices. So I wouldn't say empty per se. Maybe at the weekend.
Nice.
Weekend it is, definitely.
Yeah. And is it got where Annabelle's is in that square? And it's got
Sexy Fish is there, isn't it?
Sexy Fish.
Now, we've
like
been there, haven't we?
really expensive restaurants.
That's an interesting bar. That's another video.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to N, 9 Elms. So 9 Elms is quite near us. It's in Battersea, I think, or at the edge of Battersea.
Yeah, it's Battersea. Yeah, it's Battersea.
And
it's on the River Thames.
Huge. It's right next to Battersea Power Station, and huge development there. They've built the American Embassy there. Loads of these skyscrapers, and it's just opened last year a new tube station there on the Northern Line. So now it's like super modern.
Yeah. I would say it's like a high-rise residential sort of vibe. It's very, I would say, like man-made. You know, it's not
brand new.
Yeah, it's not like a natural London suburb. You know, you go to different parts of London and they've got a bit of character. There's no character or history. And I would say also it's quite expensive.
Yeah,
I think it's quite overpriced.
Because it is it's like, I think you're in Zone 1, so it's very easy to get into London. I also would say another word would be like Americans, because I guess you've got the embassy there, and whenever I'm in 9 Elms, I hear a lot of American accents, and I think a lot of Americans live there who work at the embassy.
That's true, yeah. Apple's headquarters are there as well.
They're at Battersea Power Station, right? Yeah, right by it. But I like it because I drive through it if I'm going east from where we live, and the roads are like really like easy to get through, and it's a nice area to drive through because it's all new build.
Yeah.
So I'd say like new American, new tube.
New tube.
New tube station.
So I've got another word for 9 Elms.
Go on.
Cats.
Oh, Caesar. Hello, beautiful Caesar.
So in 9 Elms and Battersea Power Station, you've got Battersea Cats and Dogs Home, which is probably the most famous feature there, I would say. So, whoa. So, yeah. Wow, that lasted long.
So next up, under N, Notting Hill.
Oh wow, that's famous, isn't it?
So Notting Hill, obviously the movie and everything made it super famous, and I, before moving to London, assumed that this would be like the nicest, like coolest area to live in. It is quite an interesting area. Like, it's very touristy. You've got Portobello Road Market.
Yeah, it's very
And if you
touristy,
go, especially like on a Saturday,
it's super busy.
Rammed. Like, the streets are so busy. You've got lots of quirky like trinket shops, antiques, interesting things like on the movie.
Yeah. I think it is quite cute attractive looking part of London. I think it's, I mean, there are areas which are just like the movie.
There are, like, this, right? It is filmed there and everything.
There's like colourful houses, there's that street, isn't there? It's really nice.
You always see like Instagrammers and stuff there taking photos and stuff, like the pink houses. So it is pretty. It's very expensive now, probably because of the movie.
Pretty expensive, touristy.
Yeah, I think that works.
Yeah.
So next up is Oval.
Wow, I can obviously talk about this. So Oval, not that far from Battersea. It's that sort of area of London, probably a few stops down on the tube.
Vauxhall.
Yeah, if people don't know where Vauxhall is, they're not going to know where Oval is, are they?
Sorry.
I'm only kidding. So Oval, most famous for the Oval, which is one of England's main cricket grounds. Cricket being a better version of baseball, basically, in my humble opinion. I actually quite like baseball, but cricket has just got a little bit more time, a bit more, shall we say, je ne sais quoi, although that's French for something. But yeah, so the Oval, biggest feature, one of the main spots on the calendar for cricket.
Yeah.
Other than that, you've got, again, another new development similar to Nine Elms, but was 10 years previous. You've got...
it's got big, like, busy roads there as well.
Yeah, there's like isn't there MI5 building in Oval? Or is that Vauxhall?
Yeah, it's that area.
Yeah, that area.
You know, the one that's on the Thames that's like in James Bond.
MI6 or MI5?
MI6.
So the MI6 building is there, and then you've got all these kind of new builds next to it.
Yeah, and really busy, like, 3-lane road. So I'd say cricket, like, busy traffic, and kind of new developments-ish for Oval.
Can't we say, like, spy, something to do with...
Oh, espionage.
Espionage, yes! Is there a word for that in French?
Okay, so next up on my list here, we have Peckham. So,
wow, Only Fools and Horses, Peckham, Rodney, you plonker.
One of my favourite, like, comedies. I've watched them so many times.
David Jason, Nicholas Lyndhurst.
Absolute, like...
classic.
Yeah, absolutely love it. So whenever I think of Peckham, I always think of, like, the big council estate buildings that they
Nelson Mandela House.
That was it.
It's the name of their apartment.
So definitely Only Fools and Horses. Peckham has kind of been gentrified recently.
Yeah.
So it's quite trendy now.
Yeah, it is quite trendy now.
So I'd definitely add trendy. Like,
yeah, okay,
cool.
Yeah, okay.
And what else would you say for Peckham?
Rye?
Oh, there's a place called Peckham Rye Station, right?
Yeah. So what is rye? Rye is rye like whiskey and rye from that song?
No, that's RYE.
Yeah, that's Peckham Rye.
If you know what Peckham Rye is, then comment below, because we don't.
What is Peckham Rye? What is a rye? Whiskey and rye, so it must be like
a type of like wheat, I think. Next up...
I'm a bit intolerant to Peckham Rye.
So next up, we've got Pimlico.
Oh, Pimlico. So first word, plumbers.
Pimlico Plumbers is a massive plumbing company.
I would say massive.
Well, name another bigger plumbing company.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
Studio Build. For those that watch The Apprentice, they know what I'm talking about. Wink.
Pimlico is such an interesting, like, area. It's closer to the centre of London than Chelsea, and it's next to Victoria, so it's super central, but it's actually very quiet. I used to cycle through that area quite a lot, and it was always so quiet because it's not really like a destination for anything. No. You've got a lot of old, beautiful buildings, but you've also got a lot of the, like, council estates there as well.
No, that's Westminster, but Westminster and Pimlico are next to each other.
Okay.
Pimlico's all of the sort of nice old sort of...
It does have a lot of the council estates in as well.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah,
I thought that was Westminster.
Near the river.
I thought that was
Westminster. As well.
Okay.
Yeah. It also has a lot of shops that are like furniture shops,
like
decorating shops,
antiques type thing. No, like high-end high-end, like
headquarters of those type of shops. I mean. There's one that, because the bus goes by it that we get to our house now, and there's a shop there that sells just crystals, like really expensive like crystals. I've never seen anyone in there, but so I definitely think of like
I know what you mean,
high-end furniture.
There's that massive crystal in the window.
Yeah, crystal shop.
And there's never any customers in there.
But it's been there forever, so...
I mean, we should go. Why don't we go? Let's go and check it out.
What? Buy me a crystal?
If we get enough comments, we'll go and film buying a crystal in one of the most really expensive crystal stores in London.
And then returning it.
How many comments to buy a crystal?
1,000.
Okay, there you go.
There you go. I also think of Peggy Busheen.
What's Peggy Busheen?
So it's this cafe that's like super pink.
Oh,
it's kind of Instagram famous.
Right.
And that is in Pimlico on this street. I think it's Elizabeth Street.
Okay.
And they get like these beautiful like floral displays outside.
Yeah, it's
where
super
the Joe
nice.
Loves shop is. That Jo Malone's brand that she has now. So I definitely think of like floral displays.
Yeah.
I think of...
Can I add something?
Yeah, go on.
So isn't there an art gallery there? Or a museum or something?
Oh, the Tate?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tate, Britain.
And then opposite there's a University of Arts or something.
Is there? Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Arty.
So it's quite a random place, like a mishmash of a lot of things, I would say. Okay, next on, moving on.
Can we recap the 3 words? Plumbers,
Yeah,
arty,
and like furniture shops.
and furniture. Wow, I think Pimlico Tourist Board are going to be tapping us up. Probably never.
So next up, moving on to R, is Richmond.
Oh, we love
So
Richmond.
we're actually going to do a video on the best place in Richmond because we really love it. So Richmond is kind of a little bit out of town. Like
Yeah.
you get the train there, but the train only takes like 15 minutes. But it's still London, and it has a massive Richmond Park.
Richmond Park, very famous for deer. You've
Used
got
to be
deer
the
running around.
hunting ground for
Henry
Henry
VIII.
VIII. And that's why it has deer there. So you definitely think of deer. It's got really nice like shops and restaurants. And of course it has the river. And it's kind of famous for lots of people, like especially in the summer, sitting by the
Yeah.
river.
Beautiful pubs. You can go punting down the river, which
Yeah.
is a great sort of pastime for
It's so nice.
families in the summer. And famously, the venue, is venue the right word?
I don't know what you mean.
For the TV series, famous TV series. Football coach, American football coach,
Oh.
came over from the US, managed an English football team.
Okay.
Okay, cut. I'm going to look it up.
Everybody knows that.
Fred.
No.
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso. So Richmond is probably most famous of
Oh.
everything you've mentioned. Even Richmond Park, even Hampton Court, even Henry VIII, even deer and antelope are all surpassed by none other than Ted Lasso,
There you go.
who's basically like a satire on American owners and American
Oh.
people getting involved in football.
And it's based in Richmond.
It's based in Richmond, but you know.
So there you go. So Ted Lasso, I'd say the river, and I'd just say like really nice restaurants and shops for Richmond.
You can say that about everywhere.
We would
though.
love to live in Richmond.
I think
right?
punting, park, and Ted Lasso.
Okay. Okay, so moving on to S, we go to Soho.
Oh yes, very famous, very
Right
famous.
in the heart of London, like basically the middle. It's got a huge amount of pubs, restaurants, clubs, bars. So I definitely think like nightlife. It's got a really big like LGBTQ plus scene. You've got, is it GAY nightclub?
Yeah.
Like loads of stuff
Old
like that.
Compton Street, very famous.
And you've
It's
got
great,
like
it's awesome.
loads of like adult shops there as well.
Yes, there's a red light district. I mean, historically, it used to be the place to go to like peep shows and things like
Right.
that. But it's evolved more into a tourist kind of place. It's basically the epicenter of everything. You know, it's like the mishmash of
Like hedonism.
yeah,
of
exactly.
London.
And you know, you've got a little bit of Chinatown. You've got a
Yeah.
little bit of West End. You've got a little
Yeah.
bit of the gay
Theatres.
scene, and it's all sort of intermixed, and it's very touristy.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's cool, very cool place.
Like it's quite intense, but definitely cool. So I'd say bars, I'd say like the gay scene, and I'd say theatre.
Do you know what Soho stands for?
No, what?
So I remember we had this conversation a while ago, and it's escaped me. Let's look it up.
2 very boring minutes later.
So the term Soho comes from a 16th century hunting cry.
Soho.
Soho.
So did it used to be a hunting area?
It used to be a hunting area in
What?
old times, and then that name just kind of
That's
stuck.
crazy. Oh my god.
But other people believe that it stands for south of Houston Street, which I guess is Soho in New York.
But London Soho would have been older than New York Soho.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe it's south of Houston Street in London, but
Maybe that's what it means in New York.
I don't know if there was a Houston Street in London. But anyway, I believe it. I like the hunting cry.
Soho.
Because think about it. Nowadays, on a Saturday night, there's a few hunting cries, I'm sure.
Okay, so next up T is Temple.
Temple's an interesting one. So I can start.
Yeah, I don't know much about Temple.
So apparently this is the original location of the Knights of Templar. So there is an ancient temple in Temple where you've got supposedly Masons and the Knights Templar and the Illuminati and all that kind of jazz, and that's why it's called Temple.
It's in the city, right? Like,
but that could be something I just made up.
Oh, come on! It definitely has an old temple there, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think there is like a conspiracy theory about it having a link to the Illuminati.
I'm sure
there's like symbolism there if you look around.
That area, you've got loads of the old guilds and things like that. Like, so there's probably been a lot of those like clubs and things like that in that area.
But actually, for us going there, I think of it more as like a workplace, because I've used to work in some offices that are based in that area, and the temple is like a good walking distance from.
So it's like
kind of banking,
conspiracy and banking, I'd say.
Yeah, defo.
Okay, so moving on, I'm gonna say Tottenham.
So you got Tottenham Football Club, Tottenham Hotspurs, so famous for football. In that area, of course, you've got Highbury and Tottenham, not that far from each other, and you've got Tottenham and Arsenal. So it's a big football area. So that's probably number one. Number two, you've got Tottenham Hale, which is a suburb of London, and it's a pretty like eclectic kind of fun place. And what else in Tottenham? I don't really know much else in Tottenham other than football, I must admit. I know Tottenham Hale and I know Tottenham Football Club.
It's quite suburban as well. Like, I think, like, once apart from the stadium and stuff, it's a lot of houses there.
Yeah,
it's not very modern. Like, it's quite established houses that have been there from like 50s maybe.
Yeah. I don't know too much about other than that.
So moving on to W, Wembley.
Wembley, again, another huge...
You're going on Sunday, aren't you?
Yeah, going to see Man United v Coventry on Sunday, courtesy of Blue Light Card. So, Wembley, most famous for Wembley Stadium, most famous for England football, and also all the events that are there. You've got Wembley events and Wembley Stadium. Wembley itself has gone through a bit of a transformation.
Redevelopment.
Yeah, so it was redeveloped, I think, like 20 years ago or 15 years ago. And so you've got the new Wembley, which is this massive stadium. But before... it was a stadium that was famous for its two towers. So as you walk down Wembley Way, you see these two towers, and they usually have flags. And Wembley Way is fantastic for football. It's like Wembley final. It's usually finals of playoffs or FA Cups, and when you're there as a fan, it's all exciting. And you're going down Wembley Way, which is a mile long, and it's fantastic. So yeah, I think number one is football and celebrating and things like that. Other than that, I think it's been redeveloped. So there's a lot of Nine Elms type development. Yeah,
and also I think it's got a big IKEA. So I think of IKEA.
So all of the apartments are like self-build. You turn up and then you just...
Self-assembly.
Westminster.
Okay, so Westminster, of course, probably the most famous area in London.
Yeah.
So obviously Parliament's there, so I think of Parliament, politics, Big Ben.
Yeah, Big Ben, Parliament.
I've actually gone up Big Ben, climbed up it and gone behind the clock and everything. It's so cool.
That's awesome.
And I've done a tour of Parliament as well, and it is really cool. Like, it's so old.
Yeah.
And it's such an interesting building. There's no like schematic maps of it from when it's built, so no one knows like what's behind the walls and the plumbing, and it's like a real mishmash mess of a place.
And you know why that's the case, don't you?
Why is that?
Guy Fawkes got a plan of the Houses of Parliament, and that's how he was able to put a bomb underneath it.
He was under it, right?
So ever since then, they've tried to...
I just think back in those days, they didn't like document like plumbing.
Yes, they did document things. Where do you think history comes from? People document
No, I mean
things.
Where the plumbing is, like where the pipes are, where the electrics is. It's all just been built year over year organically. Anyway, so definitely think Westminster House of Parliament. I was going to say Downton Abbey then. Westminster Abbey.
Westminster Abbey, I was about to say that.
I love Westminster Abbey.
Yeah, it's awesome.
We love history, and it's so cool. All the kings and queens that are buried there.
It's literally like
the most amazing atmosphere. And then I think also for Westminster, as protests, because there are so many protests there. And when there's a massive protest there, basically, because all the roads are closed, it basically breaks the whole road network, all of London. So even miles away from Westminster, the traffic is like messed up and like massive queues.
Isn't there some kind of ancient bylaw that you're allowed to protest on that green outside Westminster?
Oh yeah.
That's why people always go there. I mean, obviously it's close to the Houses of Parliament.
And the people that tent like live there from, you know, when it was like the Iraq War and stuff.
Well, there's a permanent tent there for stop the oil, I believe.
Moving on, next one is Wimbledon.
Oh, well, tennis.
So, of course, the tennis. I love Wimbledon tennis. I watch it every year. I've been there a few times as well. I've even camped out overnight to get a ticket. It's amazing.
How could you stay there all night? That must have been a nightmare. Was it worth it?
Yeah, it was great fun.
There's a video on it, by the way.
Yeah, there is actually. So it's obviously tennis. It's also just like a really
suburban,
nice. There's some amazing houses.
Green, leafy, beautiful houses.
Yeah.
It's also quite popular with South Africans, Australians,
I think
Kiwis.
It's quite green.
It's got like an Antipodean sort of vibe. I think mainly South Africans congregate in Wimbledon.
If there's like a South African rugby match on,
it's buzzing. The atmosphere is electric. Yeah, it's great fun.
We really like Wimbledon.
Yeah, we like Wimbledon. And we've got tennis, we've got South Africans, and we've got the Wombles.
Wombles of Wimbledon, wombling free. Cool, so that concludes our areas of London.
Hang on.
2 very boring minutes later.
Okay, so that concludes our video on the areas of London. Let us know your thoughts on any of these areas we've covered. Do you agree with anything? And of course there was the part 1 video as well that I'll leave linked down below. Okay, cool, so that's it guys. Thanks so much for watching. Do give the video a thumbs up if you want more videos with Stephen. Do you have a whole playlist of my videos with him? But that's it guys. So thanks.
I've overstayed my welcome.
No. Okay, so that's it guys. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.